Our top focus this hour. The showdown over the controversial BBC documentary on the Prime Minister's role in the 2002 Gujarat riots. That entire debate and controversy continues unabated. Now, the SFI unit has planned the screening of documentary in UK. The documentary is planned in different cities of UK, including Manchester, Edinburgh, Warwick, and different universities across the country. In London, hundreds of Hindus had gathered and staged massive protests outside the BBC headquarters yesterday against the documentary. ISA screened this movie in Bengaluru, where students and trade unions attended the screening. Two pleas, interestingly, will be heard by the Supreme Court of India, seeking to lift the ban on the documentary. Meanwhile, Law Minister has slammed this controversy and the petitions lined up by the court, calling it a waste of time. There's some breaking news coming in. And this is the latest news coming in on the BBC documentary showdown. Among the two pleas filed before the Supreme Court, which will come up for hearing on the 6th of Feb. One is by N. Ram, who's a senior journalist. He has moved the Supreme Court after his tweets on the documentary ban were taken down. CNN News 18 has accessed a few excerpts of this petition, which states that all citizens, including the press, have a fundamental right of view, form an informed opinion, critique and report on any kind of development that happens and circulate it lawfully. Now, the plea also goes on to say that this kind of infringement of freedom of information and freedom of speech and the kind of dissemination of news that should be allowed is not being allowed. Those are the key excerpts that my colleague Ananya Bhatnagar is getting for you. Let me cut across to him. Ananya, tell us more about this petition.
Well, this petition has been filed by senior journalist N. Ram, who says that the press and, in fact, the people of India have, in fact, a right under the law to actually critique, to open about and to view such kind of a content. In fact, it also has sought directions for restraining the respondent, that is the central government, from censoring the information contained in that particular documentary and to quash all orders directly or indirectly censoring the same, including but not limited to the order dated 20 January 2023, passed by the respondent number 1, and all subsequent consequential proceedings. It also goes on to say that as there is no order in the public domain, the reason for restriction defined under Section 69A of the IT Act cannot be ascertained. In accordance with Section 69A, the order restricting the freedom of speech and expression has to be in writing and must be a reasonable order, is what the petition that has been filed by N. Ram states. Now, there are 4 petitions, Anisha, that have been filed before the topmost court of the country. One by M.L. Sharma, seeking to set up an SIT and to look into the documentary and revisit all of those victims and the facts that have been raised in that documentary. Second is by journalist N. Ram. Another is by Mr. Prashant Bhushan against the blocking of against the deletion of those particular tweets that he has made with regards to this documentary. Yeah. And another one, a similar petition to what Mr. N. Ram has filed, has been filed by Ms. Mahua Moitra, the TMC leader. So how this plays up is a matter of time, and we'll get to know on February 6th when the matter is actually heard by a bench headed by Chief Justice of India. Remember that though a different quorum can also be given out to this, but then since some of these are PILs, so the Supreme Court might be giving it to the Chief Justice of India, and he being the master of the roster.
Ananya, let's also discuss a bit more about the contents of this petition and some of the excerpts that you've reported, especially the petition by N. Ram. He also raises the issue that his tweets concerning the documentary were taken down. So not only has he challenged the ban on the documentary, but the manner in which his own freedom of speech has been curbed. Is that correct?
Well, definitely. That's what he's trying to say in his petition, that freedom to speech and expression has been curbed. And in fact, under Article 19.1 and 19.2 of the Constitution of India, there is a clear right to every citizen, including the press, to actually view such content, to actually critique about this such content, and also to give out their opinion and views on public platforms with regards to this. This is the freedom of speech and expression is what Mr. N. Ram is calling. He has sought directions from the topmost court of the country to the central government to actually remove any kind of a direct or indirect censoring of this particular documentary, which has been released by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, in 2 parts, and has been criticized. And we have seen how protests have also broken down in various parts of the country. We also saw how screenings had taken place not only in the Delhi University, but also in the Jawaharlal Nehru University, where in fact stone pelting incidents were also reported. But at the same point of time, it is all a matter of time and we'll get to know as to what would the Supreme Court be saying about all of these petitions that have been filed before the topmost court of the country. And it's on the February 6th when we'll get to know as to what would happen and what would be the fate of these petitions that have been filed before the topmost court of the country. Anusha.
Ananya Bhatnagar reporting all the details. We are moving on and getting